The media is constantly broadcasting commercials about how the swap out will work. Then the news media from Iraq tells us about the cash center that recently opened in Kark. It is used solely for the intake of the 30 dinar notes or dollars. Folks, they are already sucking in the 30 notes, so in reality, unofficially, the process of deleting the zeros has already begun. Yes, it is underway according to my CBI contact. Now we can pay with the Iraqi dinar anywhere in the world. From Iraq I can pay people over here, United States, for now it's 1,310, but I can send you $500. I'm talking about business, I'm not talking about person to person. I'm talking about business. Before we're not allowed to do that. We have been told by my CBI contact on the committee that we should expect to see the ramped-up project to delete the zeros sometime soon after the US election period is over sometime in November. This period of time through December will begin the process for the swap out with the newer lower denominations. To me this also means about a 1-to-1 at par rate of the IQD with the US dollar. But remember, this is in country only. Also remember, these actions always have dependencies. Nothing is a guarantee. I want to make this very clear to you today. You understand, if they lift these restrictions, they're talking about the amount of liquidity that's going to come into Iraq. Liquidity has always been an issue for them, but now this would be a big deal for them. This would be huge. A lot of liquidity would come into Iraq. It'll really strengthen the Iraqi dinar. I mean hardcore. I want to highlight this one. Why fluctuate in the exchange rate of the US dollar? It occurred to me that these type of articles started appearing before the Kuwaiti revaluation. Of course, back then I had friends serving in the military that were stationed there at that time. So I was getting regular updates from Kuwait. I followed it to see if they were right. One day they post articles that everything is stable, the next day they publish articles saying things are unsettled and fluctuating. They keep publishing conflicting articles to keep us off balance. This is important and exactly what we saw before Kuwait revalued. Hybrid monetary policy. Al-Sudani's advisor reveals the central bank's new step. Quote, the central bank began, on October 24, to reduce the monetary policy interest rate, by about 200 percentage points, by lowering the interest at which the central bank deals with banks from 7.5% to 5.5%, which means, an expansionary policy in targeting the money supply. Despite the above, new policy did not neglect the importance of continuing to control local liquidity levels and carrying out high sterilization operations. By offering debt instruments called Islamic certificates of deposit, which are considered sovereign debts that can be mortgaged or discounted in the secondary market, and are excellent debts, with a return of 4% for a period of 14 days and a return of 5.5% for a period of 182 days. Iraq without a doubt is trudging forward, but now here we go. Election season coming up. We really have to cross our fingers and see what happens, because the people that get in office really do make a huge difference on what's going to happen in the future. Question: if all the banks know and have dinars, when they exchange, will there be anybody to serve us? Yes, and that's a good point. The upper echelon of the banks, even they are just finding out. But no bank officer is allowed to buy dinars. The Central Bank of Iraq decides to reduce interest to 5.5% in order to support economic growth. Quote, the Central Bank of Iraq decided to reduce the interest rate from 7.5% to 5.5%. After the inflation rate decreased in Iraq, the Supreme Coordination Committee for the Strategic Framework Agreement for Friendship and Cooperation with the United States of America stressed the need to move the relationship with Washington to an economic partnership and not focus on military affairs. This came during the committee's regular meeting, headed by Foreign Minister Fuad Hussein, today, Sunday, in the presence of all representatives of the subcommittees within the Supreme Committee, according to a statement by the committee received by Shafaq news agency. The statement said, during the meeting, the latest developments in bilateral relations between Iraq and the United States of America were discussed, in addition to reviewing the achievements approved during the last meetings between the two parties in mid-April in Washington, D.C. The future working papers that will be discussed during the upcoming meetings of the committee, scheduled to be held in February of next year, were also discussed within the agreed-upon axes, which include cooperation in the fields of politics and diplomacy, security and defense, energy, economy, education, health, and the environment. The foreign minister stressed the importance of strengthening relations with the United States of America by implementing the provisions of the agreement, and moving the relationship to a solid economic partnership.